Welcome or welcome back to the Electric Vibe podcast. I am Kurt Hoffman, your co-host, and to my left is my smooth-voiced brother from another mother, Mr.
J. David Silva, the Electric Man.
Jay. Who do we have coming in on our podcast and is waiting in the green room?
Kurt, we have a special guest today. We have Matt Blistan, also known as Atlanta Bliss. And Matt has over 40 years of professional trumpet playing experience. Matt has developed from a local band artist, performer, composer, arranger, and producer with worldwide recognition to now an author. And Matt has just released a book called Mindbody, Trumpet, which is also now available for purchase. The book is first and foremost a guide for helping musicians to improve their playing skills, but it also includes a retrospective look at Matt's contributions to Pittsburgh and the national music scene, having worked with artists such as Prince, Aretha Franklin, Miles Davis, Chaka Khan, and that's just to name a few. The Electric Vibe is very, very pleased to welcome Matt Blistan, aka Atlanta Bliss, to the podcast.
Yay! Matt, aka Atlanta Bliss, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How do we find you in the Pittsburgh metro area today, sir?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's the weather is beautiful fall weather here, and all the leaves are changing, and it's a sunny day, and it's like 75 degrees out, and ready to ride a motorcycle, but I'd rather be with you guys.
Nice.
Oh my God! So you're a bike rider?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
What are you working with, motorcycle wise?
I have a BMW.
Ah.
Yeah, it's the touring bike, the 1600, the GTL.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You didn't want to get a Harley and hear all those pistons misfire?
I'm not a Harley guy.
Yeah,
I ride
well,
them and
that's okay.
appreciate them, but I'd rather be a stealth guy. You know, people can't hear me coming.
Right.
I hear you. No, I've got a good friend of mine from Connecticut, actually, where Jay and I have a common connection, and he is a big BMW motorcycle enthusiast as well. He likes the smooth.
Oh yeah.
He's toured the
riding a
country with that
submachine.
thing.
Yeah, that's I go across country a couple times.
What year is your bike?
15,
Wow. Okay.
2015. Yeah.
How far have you traveled on it?
Well, all the way to Colorado, a couple times, up into Montana. Yeah. Yeah, the riding in Colorado is incredible.
Yeah, my brother
Oh,
lives in the Colorado Springs area. He's out in Peyton,
really?
Colorado, so I get it. And
Oh,
my brother's a short little guy, shorter than Prince, and he actually has a lady Sportster, Harley Sportster, because
wow.
he's short enough
Yeah,
where it's
yeah, it's a
perfectly
short
sized
frame.
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Nice.
I've rode. Can we say the B word? I rode bitch on the back of his bike, and well, you got to say because that's the vernacular in the bike
That's
world.
what it is. Yeah. That's
And,
what it
and
is.
on Route 25, you know,
25?
yeah, seeing the mountains out there, Pikes Peak and all that stuff. So, it's
Yep.
absolutely picturesque and gorgeous. But boy, that weather can be schizophrenic.
Yeah. Oh, even if you go up into, you can get up into 14,000 feet, and the temperature up there is
Oh,
much, much, much different than it is down below,
I've taken the
in the
Swiss whale
valleys.
cog car up there, and I have
Oh,
driven
really?
up there and have,
Wow.
almost fainted because of the oxygen levels are,
Oh, yeah.
if you're a
I'll tell
football
you,
team,
let me tell you a quick story about
please.
this whole time with Prince. We were playing Denver, and I remember where we were playing the stadium, wherever we were playing. And normally with that was the Love Sexy tour. And we normally move around the stage pretty good. And, with playing trumpet, I breathe a lot. You have to breathe a lot. And after a while, I was having a problem breathing. And it really didn't even puke. While I'm trying to catch my breath and whatever. And after the show, I'm thinking, what the heck? And then I feel, hey, we're a mile high.
Right?
And it really did make a difference right there.
Mm-hmm.
I was,
You're a wind instrument of any kind.
yeah, it
And
really was different.
but being the professional that you are, I'm sure you were able to. And we know. I played trumpet from fourth to eighth grade, so I know the basics. So your embouchure,
Right?
boucher comes from French for mouth. Um, your lip technique, you had to make sure. Did you have to I assumed you would alter your technique on your embouchure and the tension in your lips and the tightness to get the notes out the way you needed to get them out.
And no, it didn't even occur to me that that was a problem that I was playing We're a Mile High until after the show. And
Okay.
then I figured out, We're a Mile High, so that did make a difference.
Wow.
And we were just out in another city in Colorado recently, and we're about 10,000 feet. And in fact, we were elk hunting too at one time.
Huh.
And that 10,000 feet, you can only walk, a mile or so, and then you got to stop and take a break and say, hey,
Yeah.
this is not normal here. I'm not used to this, and I didn't train in it. That's what you really have to do if you're going to go out there and seriously, elk hunt.
Honestly, I've never gotten altitude sickness except for when I drove up to Pikes Peak. When
Oh,
you do, I don't know what it is about the Swiss cog railway system that they have where you gradually go up. I guess maybe you get more
hmm,
acclimated that way. It's a slower
yeah,
climb,
right,
and you get
right.
to see where Kathy Lee Gifford wrote the words for America the Beautiful. They stop at that
Oh,
spot. You get a little time to, but I'm a runner, and day after I got there, I'm out there doing my 4 or 5 mile whatever. I've never gotten altitude sickness out there.
oh,
Knock knock wood, because I
yeah,
know that's a. I mean, you have a
yeah.
football team that's not used to it from the East Coast or even the Midwest that comes out and plays Denver Broncos,
Oh, yeah,
or baseball team playing the Colorado Rockies.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. That's you're 6 points behind just doing that.
Right.
just
You're a touchdown behind.
you understand it. So, you we before we actually pushed the record button and got to briefly break ice a little bit with you, Matt. You had I'd asked you, hey, you're back in the limelight in the music camp, and a lot of us are just thrilled to see you back, and talking about your days with Prince and beyond that. So, can you tell us what your other life was? You had briefly spoken about what you were doing prior to coming back in the limelight.
Yeah, I was actually the national vice president of GVU Life, which is in Pittsburgh. It's a fraternal life insurance company,
Hmm.
and when I started with them in 2001, um, I we had assets of $300 million, and I was a vice president of the company. And after 20 years, we're at 3.4 billion dollars. We grew from 300 million to 3.4 billion in 20 years. And so that was why I was so not in the music. It was pretty intense during that time. So I had to really focus on what I was doing there. And I had a blast doing it. The great company's still there. Obviously, they don't need me anymore, but they're
Right.
doing great.
And you've been retired a couple years now, you said.
Yeah, yeah.
January
We just moved
21st. What
to
what year did you retire?
January 21,
Wow.
2021. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, 21. After the pandemic. That's what my question was going to be. Ooh, boy. Bet you saw a lot of stuff during the pandemic.
Oh man. Well, that was with being an insurance company, we were allowed to stay open because, unfortunately, we had to pay death claims, you know. And so we were going into work every day, although we did get to the point of most of us were working from home. I would work from home, which now being a management position and you have so many people under you, you would think, well, I can't work at home. I'm so interacting with the staff so much that I really have to be in touch with them all the time. But
Right.
I guess, that's it worked out and we made it work and it's working all around the world, and that's the way people are working now. I mean, management people, whatever, that's just a way of life now.
Work
Didn't think you
culture
could
has
do it,
forever
but
been changed by
push you into
this.
it. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, with your skill sets as a musician that led you to this vice presidential position, how did that transfer over? How did that transition happen?
Well, actually, uh, I have some background in marketing too.
Okay.
And so that's what really got me into the fraternal industry. I worked with the United Lutheran Society. I was the national vice president with them for several years until
Huh.
GVU asked me to work with them to hire me with their company. So Yeah, that was 6 years with them and then 20 years with the other company. And so I did have some marketing behind me. And that's what they really wanted to do. In fact, when I was with GVU Life, I was in charge of the marketing department. We had at the time maybe about 300 agents with us. By the time we were done, we had 1,700.
Wow.
And also, came up, we were finally online. Back then um, it was new to be online,
Yeah.
20 years ago. So, we made, jumped a lot of hurdles and got up with the times, and GVU was up with the biggest insurance companies now, come competing in our pricing and everything, our annuities, and it's all, uh, it's all really good. It's a great company. And a
That's
fraternal company, if you don't know what a fraternal company is, fraternals were started at the turn of the century, in the late 1800s.
Hmm.
And it was like, the Slovaks and the Germans and even the groups of Catholics, they would find themselves grouped in certain cities. Pittsburgh is the most domiciled, has the most domiciled insurance companies because there was a lot of groups that came into Pittsburgh and settled in different parts of the city. The Germans were in one part, the Slovaks were another part, the Polish were another part. Well, they all back then, uh, the breadwinner would pass away. Those groups each would take, well, in 10%, 10 cents or something to the family, and they'd help the family out because they lost the breadwinner. So they eventually started an insurance company, and that's how insurance companies started. And that's what we still have today is what fraternal insurance companies. So we're just not, if you buy a policy with GBU Life or whomever, fraternal, you're not just have an insurance policy, but you're a member. So you vote on the board of directors. You have lots of fraternal benefits. We have scholarships for the kids.
Huh.
There's lots of community activities that we have with the kids. We interact with different communities. We have funds that are available for our members to go into the communities and help the communities like this, what's going down in North Carolina and everything. There's
Uh,
people going just helping out you wouldn't believe down there. And it's really neat. Rather than just a number, you're a member of a group,
it
big
almost,
group, and
yeah, it
positive.
almost
It's
sounds
all
like you have a
positive.
co-op element to the insurance model.
Basically,
Yeah.
that's yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
So that's what I did for. In fact, I grew up. I was born into that. With my dad, got I was a when I was born, he was already into the whole society, the fraternal thing. And then when I got into it, much later, I got into national officer.
Yeah.
So it was very cool. He was very proud, obviously, because he never thought that a son of his would be national officer with a fraternal that he grew up with, also.
Yeah. Well, let me make mention, and Jay, this is our Connecticut connection. In Danbury, Connecticut, Charles Ives, the composer, contemporary 20th century composer Charles Ives, was an insurance salesman full time. Composing was his part time, uh, you know, gig,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Well, you know what? Because I was a national officer, we would set the interest rates and we would set premiums for the insurance policies. So I wasn't allowed to sell. So I didn't have an insurance license. But after I retired, I said, I think I'd like to sell, and interact with people and let them know about everything. So I went and studied and got the Pennsylvania insurance license. The book was about 2 inches thick. All the regulation. It used to be like, a half
Oh, of
inch thick, if
course.
that. And now it's 2 inches.
Yeah.
So it took me a whole winter to get my license, but I passed it, the first time, and I'm helping people a little bit. It's being very cool. That's another little sidebar I have.
that's great.
Why do
Wow.
I feel like I'm going to have a life insurance policy by the time I'm done with this conversation? Hey, listen, it's a great story. If you sell me a life, it would be great. Hey, the guy used to play. I mean, hell.
Yeah,
Speaking of that,
yeah,
what, Matt, I wanted to ask you,
yeah.
and we would love to, obviously we want to talk about the new book. We're very, very excited. Can you take us through just a brief synopsis of your career as a professional musician, how you got your start and,
Oh, sure.
all the way up to where we are now?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's some of the things in life you wonder about the certain stones that you pass. You remember a stone that you came up on and say, okay, this is where I started that. This is where I started that. This is where I can
Mhm.
remember um, in sixth grade. standing in my living room thinking to myself, after I saw, a little stage band they presented to us, yeah, I think
Mhm.
I'd like to take up trumpet. And that was like one of those iconic things that I can still remember like it was yesterday. And then from there, went through all the way through high school and I played in Dixieland bands and stage bands and jazz
Mhm.
bands in Pennsylvania. I think I was in the Pennsylvania um, state state band, and
Okay.
from there, got into said, okay, well, do I want to do this for a living? Well, yeah, I guess I'm pretty good at it. This is really, I did sports. I was a pretty good baseball player, and
Ah.
but I never really thought about doing uh, anything with that. But music, I had some friends in it, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to get into music. Went to Duquesne University here in Pittsburgh, and as a backup,
Yep.
I got my education degree in
Yep.
music,
Smart.
and yeah, and actually never. Well, I did. I taught at Georgia State University for a little
Yeah.
bit,
Saw that.
and I did a lot of private teaching with multiple music stores, down in Atlanta, up here in Pittsburgh, and everywhere, and did even at my house and things. It was always an education thing. In fact, that's what you're looking back at. What we're looking at is your backdrop is my book back there,
Yep.
and I really wrote that for as an education person. I don't expect to make a lot of money off of this, but I really
Hmm.
wanted to pass on some of what I had learned, even talking to people like Wynton Marsalis. There's
Yep.
tips in there that I have, developed from what I spent with time with him.
Yep.
And so the education part of it is what I wrote the book for. And well, from there, you asked about the transgression of my music. So I'll continue. Eric and I met Eric in Duquesne University, Eric
Hmm.
Leeds, and we played in multiple bands after college. We went played in Elke Stereopolis Quintet. Elke's a great, 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 great pianist,
Great.
and we toured. We went all around sort of the eastern part of the country,
Yep.
and we did hospitality inns a lot. And it was really a sort of a pseudo jazz, pseudo pop band, and made some great music. Had a lot of fun. And then after that, Eric and I came back and we started On the Corner. On the Corner was a band that we played. Kona Gang, Earth, Wind and Fire, Tower of Power.
Oh,
Even a lot of the R&B thing. Well, James Brown, he played a lot of the classics and things too.
average white
And
band.
oh, Average White Band for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and uh, and we had that band for several years, and we developed it into another band called Taking Names. It's
Names.
a lot
Yeah.
of I'm sure a lot of Prince fans have heard about that band a little bit from Eric and my background,
Yeah.
and that was also more or less that same type of theme band with a few different players that we had changed out. HB and Eric were really the founders of that band, and um, the musical drive behind it. And also, you probably heard the name Alan Leeds too.
Sure.
Oh,
Alan
we
was
know.
Alan was Eric's brother. It still is Eric, obviously, is Eric's brother, but he was our manager. So him and I'm sure him and Eric and Alan spent a lot of time figuring out what songs we should learn,
Hmm.
and gave us the whole thing because he was at that time that was the time that after he had left James Brown
Yeah. Right.
and he was in Pittsburgh with us, so he was really helping us out a lot too. And you talk about a musical mind between the musical minds of Eric and Alan Leeds,
Yeah.
unbelievable the history both those guys have. Music and knowledge, you wouldn't believe.
I've
And
had Eric
even
on
the
prior
interviews.
to Jay and I joining forces. I've had Eric on twice actually, and
Oh,
it
cool.
doesn't matter what genre of music either, because we talked about classical music. And speaking of which, I'm going to ask you a question. Since you're a trumpeter and you know how to make a buck or two playing a gig, had you ever done anything like play "The Trumpet Shall Sound" from Handel's Messiah or anything like that? Any classical rep?
Well, and during in college, that's when I had to play.
Yeah.
But I did have that my trumpet teacher was basically a jazz player too. First, I
Okay.
went in with Charles Hollis. Charles Hollis was a symphony player,
Okay.
and I really wanted to be a jazz player.
Right.
So the second year, I switched to a jazz trumpet player, a jazz trumpet teacher,
Sure.
and he was, uh, a great teacher and a different theme of music that I really wanted. So that's where I really spent time with him. And
Sure, of course. But I'm sure you had some kind of classical knowledge of playing. I mean, your guy there, Winton, has a really great recording of Hummel's trumpet concerto.
yeah,
Uh, you know,
yeah, no, I couldn't attempt anything like that.
yeah, there's some flashy runs in that late
Oh
Baroque,
man.
early classical, veering on the classical stuff. It's a difficult rep.
Well, Winton is an amazing trumpet player,
Yep.
let alone his knowledge of music and everything.
Mm,
And I sat with him. You might have heard my story about
yes.
sitting with him on the 747 flying to Paris and talking with him, and then got to play with him. And um, behind, this is we were flying to Paris, and he said, "Come on and play." And I said, "Wait, when says come and play with me?" And I said, "I'm going to be there."
Shit.
So I
Yeah.
went and played, and he did in the short time that we probably maybe an hour and a half or something together backstage before he was playing. He was playing the Paris Jazz Festival while we were playing a show, a theater in Paris. And yeah, the
What?
things that he taught me, I didn't know.
Yeah. Was that for the Sign of the Times tour or Love Sexy tour? Probably Sign of the Times, wouldn't it have been?
I would think it was Sign of the Times. Yeah, I think it was Sign of the Times.
Okay.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
And
mean, what a
incredible.
charmed life at that time. I mean, and you're flying to Paris on a 747. Let's just start there. Okay. The city of love, man. Come on.
Yeah. Well, what happened was we got on that plane and top 747 has a few seats up above. And there's a bubble up there.
Yep.
And you sit
Yep.
in the back of that. We were all the way in the back with the walls in back of me. So we're all the way in the back and you put your headphones on. I say, okay, well, this isn't going to be too bad a flight because, I got my friends around me here and
Sure.
you don't talk a lot. You just put on music and you relax. And, what happened is a saxophone player came on there and he had a hard case. And I went up and said, well, you guys playing? And he said, yeah, I'm with Winton's band. Winton's band? Well, then Winton came on, and his seat was directly in front of mine. I introduced him myself, and
Jesus.
and I said, I'm the trumpet player with Prince, and he honestly, he was about 8 hours. He was on his knees, turned around, speaking with me about music for 7 of those hours. We
Shit.
just had a blast talking together. And that's when he invited, say, come on over, we'll play a little bit.
That's got to next to meeting Miles and playing with Miles on that New Year's Eve show. That's got to be one of the highlights of your musical career
Oh,
right there, right? So,
unbelievable. And just to talk with him and play with him a little bit and see what the real trumpet player is like. The best in the world. He's, as far as I'm concerned, an incredible trumpet player.
wow.
and I know you talked about how the different horn that he had and the valve action and everything like that was something you weren't used to. Did you use your own mouthpiece or his mouthpiece for that?
He has a Manet trumpet, and
Right.
actually the mouthpiece is
Built in?
welded in part of the trumpet.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
I
knew
use
that.
his, and
That's just incredible. Now, can I throw two names out at you because the last time I saw a trumpet player play, he also composes opera, and that's Terence Blanchard.
mm,
Okay.
mm-hmm.
And the E Collective. I saw him here in town at Montgomery Community College in 2017. First show I would see when we moved up here. My other half is a neuroscientist and works for
Yeah.
as a neuroscientist. I
Okay.
did well in that department.
Wow, that's for sure. Cool.
Let me tell you, way smarter than I am. And what we went to see the E Collective play. Now, 6 to 8 months prior to that, I sang. I was an opera singer for many years and sang at the Kennedy Center for Washington National
Wow.
Opera. He gave the East Coast premiere of his opera Champion, which is about the closeted boxer Emil Griffith. And and then this is before Fire Shut Up in My Bones and all the Grammy Awards and lauds. But he had composed soundtracks for Spike Lee and all that stuff. I don't know if you're a fan of his or certainly know who he is. I'm sure
Yeah. Yeah.
he
Oh
definitely
yeah.
is in
Yeah.
the
Great trumpet
contemporary
player.
world.
Very eclectic.
and I went to school with, didn't really know him well, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with the trumpeter composer Dante Winslow.
No.
Okay, if you know who Pac Anderson is, or if you watched the Super Bowl halftime special when Dr. Dre was on there, Pac Anderson plays the drums and the trumpeter is Dante Winslow.
Oh,
He went to Peabody Conservatory, the same conservatory I attended back in the
oh.
90s.
Hmm.
So if you've not heard Dante's stuff, I think you would get a kick out of his stuff, Matt. I
Yeah.
think you'd really enjoy his stuff. So
Matt, with some of the stories that you're telling, and excuse me, some of the luminaries
yeah, man.
in the musical world, obviously, what
Yeah.
was it like for you, as a young man, just being exposed to that level of musicianship, that level of performance? Was it a little bit of a wow factor for you?
Definitely. Um, when Eric and I started, when I started with the band, Eric was already playing in Purple Rain, so he was already into the big theaters and like 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people. And when I joined the band, we did the Hit and Miss tour, and that was just small theaters, and it wasn't getting into the big arenas yet. So the first biggest arena, I believe that I remember was Prince's birthday, and it was in Detroit at
Cobo
Cobo
Hall.
Hall. Cobo
Yeah.
Hall, and that's what I remember. Obviously, Eric and I had these bands together in Pittsburgh because we wanted to get a record contract,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which we never did. But obviously, we wanted to get to that next level, and we uh, we never did get a record contract. But what you're talking about now is okay. I played those the hit and miss things. We did the theaters with with Eric and I and our bands, but we never got to the arena set, and
Yeah.
that's what we really wanted to get to.
Sure.
So yes, Prince got us to that level, and I still remember that Cobo Hall gig. All the lights went down, and the people started to they settle down because they didn't know when it was going to happen or whatever. And the road crew came out, and we started walking out, and they put the flashlights out, rock and roll, baby. They put the rock and showed us up to the stage, and you could hear the people on the side where we were walking in. Just the roar of the crowd just went all the way around the arena, and people brought out their cigarette lighters at the time,
Oh yeah.
and it's okay. This is rock and roll now. This is the real thing. So
Yep.
yes, that was my input into that level, which I always wanted to, but never did till that.
Hmm. Wow.
Detroit was his second home, really.
Yeah.
Through
Oh, he had a
that
big
first
crowd
decade,
there. Yep, he had a
the
big
Electric
crowd there.
Mojo, the DJ, the famous radio DJ, they had all the time in the world for Prince. Detroit really adopted him as a son.
Right. Right.
Mm,
And Matt, so
yeah.
when you're playing with Prince, and obviously the horn being a newer element between you and Eric, would you write all of your own arrangements and all of your own charts uh, with Prince, or would you do those separately?
Well, it depends on what you mean by arrangements. If you mean the horn parts in the songs, or
Right.
if you mean the horn parts in the songs, that's what we recorded in the studio with Prince. If you want to, do you want to go there with that
Sure.
question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So when we would record, obviously Prince plays all guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, sing, and everything else, but he can't play trumpet, sax. So he would have Eric and I. He would call us up in the middle of the night. He would have some horn parts in mind. So we say, okay, well, you gotta go, and we go in the studio with him. And he, as I'm sure you've talked to other people, there isn't even an engineer in the sound booth with him in the control room. Um, he does it himself. He is the engineer. He's the recording engineer. So he would be pushing the red button, and Eric and I be in the recording room, and he would say, okay, well, he'd play the track. This is a scratch track, which would just be just some basic guitar, bass, drums, and maybe a scratch vocal, and say, okay, here's the horn part, and he ba-da, ba-ba-da, da, 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 da. Okay, you ready to go? And he's hitting the red button right there. He's going to roll the track, and you're ready to go.
Mhm.
There's no time to practice this. It's he sings it to you. And I had a class in Duquesne called solfeggio, and the professor up there would say, "Okay, here's the tempo. Write this rhythm. Ba, 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 ba," and you have to write it down. Well, then he took it to the next level, and he said, "Okay, now write this rhythm down in." No, he said this would be the next level. Uh, Write this down. You're starting on C. Uh, then this pitch. We'll say ba. Oh, that's a fifth. Then down a fourth. Ba, 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 and
Sure.
you'd have to write all those down, up and down. So that really was a big help to me. I didn't know at the time, of course, but that helped in Prince singing these things to me because I would sort of scratch things down. Eric was much more um, adept at
Hmm.
whatever Prince would say. He could remember all that. He could remember a whole line.
Yeah.
I could only remember so much.
Right.
And then the other players with the within the band, uh, Miko and Levi and Matt Fink and everyone, whatever Prince would sing to them and show them on the keyboard or play on the bass, they would remember that, and they could
Sure.
remember that much because that's the way they grew up. They grew up, people singing things, and I grew up writing it down. So two different schools.
Sure.
If I can add to that, Matt, you also are reading in a treble clef a major second above, right? A whole
Oh yeah,
step up.
B flat trumpet, right?
Right. So there's that additional, and that's being musical geek right now. But when you're reading a trumpet line, you're reading, if it's a C, it's actually a D in another instrument. So you've got that going on at the same time.
But there wasn't a reading.
Yeah, I
There was no
know,
reading.
but
But sometimes, a lot of times, Prince would have Eric do charts, and Eric
yeah,
did some great charts too. We can talk about those things too, which
please.
I grew up listening or playing Eric's charts,
And
and
reading his
not
handwriting.
not only hard to play, they're hard to read. Exactly.
He,
Wow.
recently, he shared with me before Jay and I joined forces that he had found. So there was a horn arrangement of the Ballad of Dorothy Parker, which we all can agree, the Sign of the Times album is my favorite album, hands
Mine
down.
too. Yeah.
And that super deluxe set had so many treasures in it, and one of the treasures was this horn version that Eric had written for Ballad of Dorothy Parker.
Oh yeah.
Now he just told me months ago that was going through his stuff and he saw this, like, he didn't even title the horn arrangements for that, but he's had to go through and play it himself. He says, "Oh shit, this is what I wrote for Ballad of Dorothy Parker," and then he titled it. This is fairly recently.
Yeah.
Do you have any
Oh
recollections of playing on that?
yeah. Where is this coming from? This is like Dorothy Parker is like a semi smooth tune, and Eric's putting all these horn parts in there and just taking over the song. Of course, I think that's what Prince wanted to do. Prince was a through composer. He just wouldn't
Yes,
do the AAB thing. He would do
yep,
like AAZBDG,
yes,
and have all different parts of songs, and then he would put them together or take them apart or whatever from there.
yeah.
And a lot of times that's how he developed. He developed songs as he went along. He just didn't come in with a song and say, "Okay, I'm going to do a song." He developed the whole song as he went along, and same thing with the horn parts.
Speaking of through composing, Matt, the first three songs on the Parade album were recorded in order, right? And that
Mm.
speaks to your
Oh,
point about
I didn't
through
even know that.
composition. Can you talk a little bit
Oh,
about that session?
on on the Parade album,
Yeah, please.
the only one I played on was
Yeah.
Mountains.
Right. Oh, right. Then that's the first time you would
Claire
ever
Fisher.
play.
Yeah, the Claire.
Right.
He did the Claire Fisher done. In fact, he I think tagged
That's right.
Mountains on at the last minute,
Right. That was
and
the
then we
last
did the
track that he
video.
won for it. Yep.
Yeah, and
Well, with
that
Wendy
was
and
on
Lisa.
right, right, and then went into the movie, and that was if you remember the video, the
Yep.
movie was in black and white, but
Yep.
the video with Mountains in color.
Oh,
Yep.
right.
So
Yeah. Listen, you don't question. You just take the paycheck and run. But
hey,
to your
he's
point,
the man,
yeah, exactly. He's a money man too. But to your point, though, those first three tracks that he wrote, and you read Dwayne Tudall's books about these sessions, that was in order, and that was kind of a through composition in itself, not with
Oh,
you playing, but
right.
he recorded those first three songs on the Parade soundtrack in order and didn't stop. That's just
Yeah.
mind blowing that he already
Yeah.
had that vision of how he wanted those tracks to go and didn't stop the recording button. It
Right.
just,
Well, the other thing that he does, he'll he might put a bass track on, or let's say a drum. Let's start with a drum track. Play a drum track by himself, and he'll have hits on it and all this, and you feel, what the hell is he thinking about? And then he puts a bass guitar on it and starts to make sense, what he's doing there. And then
unbelievable.
he puts a guitar player, he has this all thought out ahead of time. And he was always a challenge to work with him because he is, and he wants you to think as fast as he thinks. He's thinking with his instrument. You play guitar or whatever, what your mind is thinking that comes in with my trumpet book, Mind, Body, Trumpet, right? Mind, Body, Trumpet, Mind, Body, Guitar. Okay, now you're trying to transfer that to someone else that's on the other side of the glass. And they have to come up with and keep up with you as fast as you're thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it destroys your whole creativity. So that's why it was always a challenge to work with this guy because I couldn't say, "Hey, wait, can you wait for a minute? I have to write this down." Or what did you say right there? No, no,
You didn't
you
have
had to
that
keep
kind
up.
of
You had to
time.
keep up with them. Yeah,
You had to be part mind reader.
yeah. And luckily, Eric and I worked for together for so many years. We didn't have to talk amongst ourselves about what is
Nope.
he thinking about. We sort of knew it, and we knew what to do, and
Yep.
we sort of had an idea of how to harmonize things. And Eric would say, "Hey, you play the root here, and I'm going to play the sixth, and we'll
Yeah.
harmonize this through." And that's all we had to say.
Mhm.
If we had a whole section there like Prince did later, that's a different scenario there. You can't
Different
have,
beast.
4 or 5 guys there recording and Prince try to expect them to have that same concept of recording right then. It was like, give me the music and oh, okay, here's the music, here's the 5 players we have, play the music.
Your saving grace was the fact that you and Eric had what I like to call, and I'm in a band as well, as band telepathy. You can read each other's body language and know what the other one's going to do, and that saved you in more than one gig,
Oh yeah.
especially when we get to the Love Sexy tour, right? And yeah, you're playing the same thing every night, but all kinds of things can happen, right? I mean, that was a very technical production. Can you talk a little bit about
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that you've heard other people have said it too, all the hand signals and everything that Prince would give.
Sure.
So not only would I keep an ear and an eye on Eric, if he was going to change something up, or sometimes we would change horn parts up, or we would call something different. And but we would have to keep the other eye on Prince because he's on the other end of the stage, but he could call, another some hits here or some da 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 da. Da. There's all kinds of, and you have to know what key you're in, so you know what that line would be. That by just saying ba da 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 da, we have to know what key you're in to play that in whatever song it was. And that's prime example of that is Beautiful Night, the end
Yep.
of uh, the live video of that from the movie. The end of that, we do the song, and then it comes to a point where okay, it's all open from there because a lot of times that was our last song during the show,
Yeah.
and that was playtime for Prince, and it wasn't playtime for us. It was really keep an eye on Prince then because he could do anything at any time and call on you to play a solo or horns do this or horns play that or keyboards or drums and Sheila play bass drum and
Yeah.
just kick drum you know so it was a challenge but it was exciting when you
Wow.
talk about someone that's the only way you grow. I tell people all the time, if you're going to play in a band and you're the best person in the band, well then you're not going to grow. You need
Yep.
someone to grow off of, and that's what a lot of bands, they have different ways of growing. The bass player has a different way to grow, and that's what you
Yep.
do. You play off of those people and you grow with them. Well, Prince, you grow with them or you leave them. You go
Sure.
home.
Yep. No, I get it. Listen, I'm in a Led
Matt,
Zeppelin. I mentioned this in many other interviews, but I'm in a Led Zeppelin covers band with three musicians who are outstanding at what they do.
Mm,
And I'm the singer. I don't look like Robert Plant, but I can do the vocals and I can do the harmonica bits. And
wow.
these three other guys are as close to the real thing as one is going to get. And you cannot
Wow.
be in a covers band and be half-assed at it and be any good. And
Mm,
my growth from it is that their musicality. We'll do a song like Achilles' Last Stand, which is anything but a picnic and a cakewalk, and the stops and starts on that, and you really, I, I'm just there as decoration. Those three are really doing the job,
mm,
and I'm just there as an ornament. So I have,
wow.
you have to know your role in depending on the song that you do, and it's a quartet in theory, but really it's a trio with a vocal ornament. Really, I honestly I say that humbly.
Wow.
They're just at that level where you have to know what the hell you're doing. But you had to deal with so many elements, and fortunately, you talk about it's going to be a beautiful night. Well, Eric already dealt with "I Would Die for You" on the Purple Rain tour, which is where he started expanding all the Sheila E. Timbale solos
Mm,
and this, that, and the other thing. And then Eric Minifield was in there as well as Eddie
Eddie Minfield,
Minifield
yeah.
rather
Eddie.
was in there along with Eric, and he's expanding that as the place where everybody starts to improv and solo and stuff because he was getting bored of doing the same damn thing every night.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where he got the idea of putting horns in the Revolution.
Sure.
And
Well,
it
that's
added another,
perfect.
it added colors. And that's what I tell all the, I think the Prince fans tell me all the time that uh, when we joined the band, they were sort of hesitant that we were going to change up the songs,
mhm.
and they said we really didn't. We just added another color to. We didn't get in the way of the original statement that Prince made in the song, which that's perfect. That's what we wanted.
I love hearing the version of Little Red Corvette with the horns on it. I mean, it's legit. I'm just so sorry you guys didn't do oh God, what is it? Ballad of Dorothy Parker, because Eric talked about how he eventually developed these eggshells, he calls them, lines that just kind of just graced
Oh,
the
mhm.
chords. He called them eggshells.
Yeah, this gets into like a tonal thing
Yeah.
where we're just playing like tones behind everything and just add a little bit of color to. It's not something that wasn't there before. We're not getting in the way. We're just adding different colors, and that's
Mm.
what music is. It's colors and
Yep.
emotional color, I suppose.
Yep.
You know what, Matt, and I'd like to touch on that because with such, the amount of experience that you've had and that rich musical history, can you talk about how that translates into teaching?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, teaching like as what I'm doing, trying to do with my book, or
Right.
teaching an individual.
Yeah, well, actually both. Can we start with the individual and then because
Oh
I
wait.
would love to segue into the book. I'm chomping at the bit to discuss it. So
Yeah.
can we have that like natural segue?
Um. Well, I was very lucky to have someone like Prince that really took me to the next level. Just not even in playing, in my playing, but also in my thought of how I could move those thoughts in my playing onto someone else.
Mhm.
We're only here for a certain amount of time, but if I can help other players, and that's it, and go in that way, that's sort of more of a legacy that I've almost would love to be a. I love to have that. I touch someone's life and help them be a better player.
Mhm.
Because a person with a trumpet in their hand, that's their best friend right there. That's something that with a guitar in their hand. Prince and a guitar, that goes more to you would see that normally more than you would see even Prince and a girl. You think of Prince, you think of Prince and a guitar,
Right.
although he had a lot of
Yeah.
girlfriends around too.
That's another
Not,
episode
not
right there, Matt.
that's right. But yeah, that's what I tried to invoke in my students that I always had was that it is part of you. It's not like you put it off in the corner and then once every week you pick it up and you expect that it's going to be the same or be better, and it's not. You really have to grow with your instrument. You really have to grow together.
Mhm.
As I grew with Prince, I developed the physical part of my trumpet too. Which I never thought about that with the other bands. I never had the opportunity. But I had the mouthpieces that I was playing were more specific to what I needed to do with Prince. I'm not really a high note trumpet player, but I had to have some ability up there to do it. And so that's why I changed the mouthpieces. I had a different lead pipe that I wanted a different sound for in the studio. And the trumpet I had was a Clicchio. That's what's in the background there. In
Yeah.
fact, you can see the lead pipe. It's a gold lead pipe back there.
Hmm.
That's a special lead pipe. And I would have never done that if I was, just playing in a local band or something, because I would have never been pushed that far, probably. But that's what I'm trying to invoke in my in players that there's more to a trumpet than a buck trumpet, and that's it. There's more to that lead pipe there. There's more to that. See that that's a the thumb
Hmm.
valve, the third valve right there, or the first valve right there on the top. You move that for your intonation.
Yeah.
When no, on the above the back, above your head.
Oh, right there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. Yeah.
not too
Sorry.
many
Sorry.
trumpets that have that on there. But that you need that for the high A up there because high A's on the trumpet. The trumpet is not perfect instrument at all, intonation
No.
wise.
No.
And yeah, and you do have to make a lot of adjustments and know that okay, if I'm going to play this A for any kind of length of time, it's going to be in tune. So I have to pull that trigger out half an inch. And that's what I mean by mind body trumpet. You got to be your trumpet and your mind and your body all have to be one,
In
and
sync.
that's the essence of the book.
Cool. It's so I tell you, because I tell you, lately I've been thinking about getting a trumpet again, just to get it out there. I mean, if forced at gunpoint, I could probably play a B flat major and F major scale.
Yeah,
If
that's a
forced
good
at
start.
gunpoint,
Or- Right.
that's a good start, right? Those are
A
the
good
two
start.
easy scales to play on the trumpet, because I remember
Um,
those were the two ones that I learned in the method books.
okay.
Might have been
Yeah.
Mel Bay, right? The Mel
Oh yeah,
Bay.
that's right. That's where I started too.
Yep. Okay. Good.
In fact, I think I still have that Mel Bay book.
I unfortunately do not, so I would have to get it again. Now it's essential elements. I think is what my friends who are in the band. We were all Anne Arundel County public school teachers in Maryland, and they
Hmm.
use essential elements.
Oh,
And
oh,
yeah,
okay.
so I don't have any. But I was thinking about pocket trumpet versus regular trumpet as far as just getting back into it. What would you
Oh,
recommend for a beginner trumpet or trumpeter? Get the real
well,
thing probably.
no, well, the pocket trumpet is the same thing as a regular trumpet. You know that, right?
Yeah, but
It has all the.
but the intonation wise, it's not as reliable on the pocket trumpet, is what I understand.
Well, the pocket trumpet is a regular trumpet with all the same tubing. It's just squished together.
Squished together,
That,
yeah.
yeah, that's what I would take in hotels and things. So I could
Okay,
stay, keep practicing. One because our trumpets, our instruments were in road crews, and they went on way before us. We're going
sure,
to another city. The horns are gone, so you sort of had to stay in touch in shape, and that's
sure.
one of the things I learned with the book. You don't need your trumpet.
Okay.
If you look at the side there, the side of that book, it says trumpet practice. It says practice trumpet without your trumpet,
Trumpet, yeah.
and that's all the isometric exercises. It's all isometric fingering exercises. It's breathing. It's reading music. It's all without your trumpet.
Hey,
I didn't know you
Matt,
could do that.
vocalists. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but vocalists, we all do those lip trills too.
Really,
And that helps loosen the occlusion of the vocal folds is relaxed by that lip trill. Oh, absolutely.
I didn't know. Never heard that
Lip
before.
trill. Hey, Seth Riggs, who is the vocal coach for like Michael Jackson for so many decades, Charlie
Hmm.
Wilson from the Gap Band and solo career. Lip trills are everything. Opera singers will tell you all the time. Lip trills are essential to getting the warming up the vocal folds and all that. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
And
Yeah.
But
Oh,
that's, yeah.
it
that was
Go ahead.
relates. But it relates. But our lips also control the tension with not just the your embouchure, but in the throat as well. So it all mind, body, voice.
Well,
It's an essential part of that as well. Yeah.
and that's actually one of the things I wanted to touch on, and you just did, Matt, was the fact that it even your book is even marketed as you don't need your instrument with you to be able to take
Yeah.
advantage of techniques and the
yeah.
methodologies
Yeah.
that you're suggesting, which I think is fantastic because it's yet another teaching method for, and I'm assuming this is for beginners or even for established trumpet
It
players.
is. Yeah, it's really developing your embouchure, and everybody has to do that. One thing that the main thing that I started the book was we would do rehearsals. We would do production rehearsals 14 hours and not stop. With a trumpet, being a
Yeah.
trumpet player, that's like death warmed over. You can't
Yep.
do that.
Yep.
But I had to do it. You're not playing constantly 14 hours, obviously, but still you're there for 14 hours and you're playing. So you're developing all your embouchure and your lips and all that. And
Mhm.
I started missing notes, and I'm thinking, what? There's something wrong with the trumpet. It wasn't the trumpet. I found out it was me because this was all developing. You're talking like you were a runner. You develop this many muscles. You develop all muscles here and all around your embouchure here. And if it's muscle, it's not going to vibrate.
All right.
And that's when you start missing notes. And that's why I said, you need this developed all the time. Keep that going. That's like a
Yeah.
long distance runner here. But
Yeah.
this has to stay flexible like a saxophonist reed, and it has to vibrate. So that's what I do in a lot. Don't stay in a practice room forever and play 10 hours and 10 hours. Go to the library and do some of these exercises. You can still keep your embouchure up, and you can do fingering exercises and breathing exercises and, reading exercises.
Yeah. But not fatigue yourself while doing it.
Yes.
Therein lies the difference. Not
And your
being
ears
holed up
too.
in some practice room, taking up somebody else's time to use the practice room.
Exactly. Yeah.
You
And your
work
ears.
smarter, not harder.
You know what a trumpet sounds like in a 5 foot by 8 foot practice room for 8 hours, and you walk out of there, it's unbelievable. And you're starting into high notes and things. It's like you're torturing yourself. You don't have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it only comes, that wisdom only comes with knowledge and experience, and you certainly had your lion's share of that, and we appreciate
So
that you're sharing this with
yeah, yeah, that's what I like to do, and I guess that's the educator in me. And I wrote this book about 16 years ago,
Wow.
Okay,
and just being retired. I thought, well, let me go back and see what that really was. And I looked at it and I didn't change a word in it. It was really bizarre.
wow,
And so that's when I talked to Jennifer Stockdale, and she helped me put that together, put the book. She did the layout, and she did my website. And then Fred Shaheen, he did an interview with me years ago, and we interspersed the interview within the book. So there's a lot of Prince things. It's not a Prince book, but it's not just a trumpet book either.
sure.
It's sort of a medium thing
Well,
or
you have
hybrid
to
thing,
use
if you want
Prince
to
as
call
the
it.
vehicle for your knowledge and experience in playing with a guy who would have these rehearsals or sound checks that would go on for hours.
Right.
Jesus Christ. I mean,
Yeah.
I get tired just thinking about it. You're the one who actually endured it.
Well, you know what? It just wasn't. We did a sound check. It's not even a sound check. It's whatever Prince wants it to be. It's
Jam,
just that,
right?
yeah, it's a jam. It's a time that the road crew can make sure all the instruments are working. But meanwhile, you're working trying to keep up with Prince, and he's singing you things, and hey, take a solo and whatever. So that's 2 hours probably we would have, and
Mm.
then you do the show. There's another 3 hours, and then you do an after show
After.
till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Jesus.
Wow.
Talking about a marathon.
Right.
Oh yeah, and then you're in the studio sometimes after the big
Oh,
show. Oh, it was quite
It was boot camp.
memorable.
how often did your lips feel like chopped liver after one of those?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes I start missing notes and thinking, what the heck is going on here? And my lips aren't vibrating because they're turning into muscle.
Mhm.
Yeah, right, right.
So I would take time off. Sometimes we'd have some time off, and I'd have a week, and I would practice a little bit. But after a week or so, I pick up my trumpet and I hit double high C's. And I'm not a high trumpet player, but I'm hitting double high. Why am I doing that? I never could do that while we're doing shows or things like that. Well, that was because my lips are so flexible, and my I still had the muscle in my cheeks, in my muscles, that
Yeah.
it was a different world.
Mm.
Can I ask you though?
You just have to find that
Yeah.
the median point where you
Right.
want to practice and you don't want to practice.
Yeah. There's got to be, well, as a vocalist, I can't practice every single song 5 days a week, several hours at a time, or I'll fatigue. So
Yep.
I have learned in myself how to practice songs by marking, by doing certain things, by going through certain techniques to not fatigue. I get it. Oh, I
Yeah.
totally get it.
Yeah. Mind, body,
But
voice
what I
for
want to
sure.
ask you is your jaw. Because I know for jaw tension for a singer, I don't know how different or similar that is for a trumpet player, or a brass player, or saxophone player, woodwinds player, how that factors into the impact on your embouchure. Now, this is getting really music,
Yeah. 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 No, well, actually, when I was in college, and back then, you really wanted to play trumpet with very, very little pressure
Yep.
on your lips. You don't want to push it back. And if you look at Miles, when he's playing, his horn is tilted down. That's because
Hmm.
his jaw is like that. And some are up
Relax.
and some are down. And,
Yeah.
and there was even one trumpet, I can't remember who it was, but they had their mouthpiece angled, because they play like
Yep.
this, but they didn't want to play into the floor.
Right.
So they had the mouthpiece, which was comfortable like this and looking down like this, but it would hook the horn up to like, a little higher, so it would project more.
Didn't
So
Maynard
yeah,
Ferguson have horns like that?
no, Dizzy of course did.
Dizzy, yeah, I knew Dizzy did.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Dizzy had the up bell.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, no, Maynard. I don't think Maynard had anything with different in his trumpet. I don't think he had his MF horns, and not his own horns.
yeah. But boy, talking about high notes, Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah. Maynard could play.
incredible. I mean, yeah,
Matt,
yeah.
what's it like for you now? Do you play every day?
No, once in a while, but
Okay.
no, I couldn't find anything really, as bizarre as it sounds, as challenging. I worked around, I played along with Prince, and then after that came home and to Pittsburgh, and all my buddies that I played with in around Pittsburgh are still playing. So I played with them, and we did, all sorts of gigs and things, but sort of got old playing the bar scene and even the high society weddings and things like that. And I said, I want to sit home and drink vodka with my friends.
Ah,
Nice.
I okay.
And listen to
Well,
music.
the-
Listen to somebody else play.
There you go. Okay. Good work if
and
you
what
can
kind
get
of vodka were we drinking, Matt?
Oh, Grey Goose, of course.
Oh, I just want to. Okay, okay. Belvedere's good too. No.
That is good.
Yeah,
nice.
Wheatley vodka. If we're talking, because I work in wine and spirits. Wheatley says Buffalo Trace
Ah,
Distilleries actually. And if you can find it, you can go to your fine wine and good spirits store because I know you're in
really?
Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
and it's on sale for $21.90. Listen to me plugging this. But I wanted to add your daughter Rachel
Oh, yeah, okay.
had posted. Yeah, you didn't see this coming. I know. When I would look up your name on occasion just to see if there was anything out there in the YouTubeverse,
Hey,
she had posted several videos of you playing with a band and stuff like that. And there was a tribute to Prince's Kiss featuring Atlanta Bliss. There was this band. If I play it, I
I
have it
don't
queued.
remember that.
Oh.
We're going to do a little tribute to Prince right now. I was a huge Prince fan.
It's about 7 years ago.
I'm 52. I was 1979. I heard "I Want to Be Your Lover," and everything else just sort of faded into the background.
But she filmed this with you playing.
I loved Prince my entire life, and the band's covered a bunch of songs. And
All right, hold on.
I
Let me
think I
see
know
if I
what
can
this is.
skip around.
I know what this is.
Okay, that's you playing. I mean,
Yeah, that was from actually I got an award in Pittsburgh as a Pittsburgh legend. And
oh,
that was a video that they had that she picked up. And yeah, that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
because they knew that I was around Pittsburgh and played all the bar scenes and everything forever. And then I came back to Pittsburgh, and yeah, they gave me this award. It was pretty cool. That was for
Pittsburgh
Kick.
legend, cool. Is that Yinzer of the Year award or what is that?
It makes you feel you're a legend, man. I'm really old now. I'm a legend. At least I'm still
Yeah,
alive
but
and being a legend, I guess.
you still got that gas in the tank, you know.
Right.
You still got gas in the tank. You can tell. You know, you're not done yet. You're
Oh
not done
no,
yet.
Right.
no, there's several more chapters to go, I hope.
There you go.
Oh, we all hope. We're just thrilled that you've come on and just shared so much with us in this short amount of time, Matt. We're just thrilled.
Yeah. After all these years. So
It really this is a moment because getting to talk to Eric all but never getting to talk to you, I was just like, oh, this is like a mission fulfilled for both of us because we're huge fans of both of yours.
Well,
And
yeah, it probably fills in the circle, huh?
well,
yeah.
so you're the, I mean, how do I phrase this? You're the gateway for us to, okay, brass is in our vernacular. I mean, I took trumpet for 4 years, but that doesn't make me a trumpeter by any stretch. But seeing you at the level that you were playing at with Prince and then learning more about Miles Davis and all these other luminaries who are influences on you just expanded our vocabulary
absolutely.
because we were into what you were doing with Prince.
Oh,
So we're forever
that's really
grateful
cool.
because without that component, I don't know that I would have had the interest in jazz. And as I get older, the more I listen to Coltrane and
Uh,
Kenny Dorham.
sure.
Got to throw his name out there because he's a
Yeah.
Jersey boy over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And
Kenny Dorham, man, I love Kenny Dorham.
Oh,
Matt,
yeah.
obviously, we're going to be posting, the links and everything for the book. We're going to help
Absolutely.
you any way that we can.
Super. Thank
Is it,
you.
is it just on your website now? Is that the only place where people can get the book for now?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to put out myself, and I could put it on Amazon, but Amazon isn't going to really hit like the Prince fans and the trumpet players. I want to try to get this to. I want to send some flyers out to music schools around the country,
Sure.
and with a flyer on there, and say, hey, check this out, trumpet players. Maybe they'll put the flyer in their lobby or something. That's all I'm hoping for.
Right.
If I may add,
Amazon would do that.
Right.
sure. No, they won't. No, they won't. But somebody like Sweetwater would.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Alan Reyes. I'll put you in contact with Alan. He's the guy that I bought my music equipment from when I was teaching music PA systems, all kinds of music books. But you should really try to partner with Sweetwater. I think if anybody out there in Fort Wayne, Indiana, would definitely back you up on something like this. They're working with Morris Day and the Time members, putting together some kind of masterclass. Jay and I were supposed to have gone in September, but they're rescheduling in May, and I would think that they would definitely latch onto something like that.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Put me in touch with them. I love to talk
yeah,
to them.
yeah, Sweetwater music. But you just thank you so much for sharing all you shared with us. We're just thrilled to be able to talk to you and
Very special.
find out what you've been up to.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the call, and what you're doing with it, keeping the legacy going too. That's really great of you.
Thank you.
We consider it a mission.
Your musicianship shows too. The way that both of you talk about music and instruments and the industry, that shows. So thank you for doing that, and you're touching a lot of lives too. So thanks for doing that.
Our humble.
Anything I can do to help your site or something, your podcast, you let me know, and I'm there.
Thank you. We're definitely
we're on the move. We're on the move it on.
Yeah, we're in the movement. Absolutely.
Exactly right. Thank you so much for that. And folks, if you like what you heard and saw today, and I know Jay and I really have enjoyed this.
Likewise.
This is a highlight. Thank you, Matt. We're really humbled. I can't even tell you this is been waiting a lifetime for this. If you like what you heard and saw today, please go down to the like button, hit it, and subscribe button, and the notification button, because we're going to have future guests on here, and more exciting content yet to happen. And as I always say, a rising tide lifts all boats. Jay?
Okay, and Matt, we're going to thank you one more time for joining us. It was our pleasure. The links will be included in the post as soon as it comes out. And as we always say, everyone, when the universe comes knocking, you have to answer that door. Good night. Peace.
Good night. Peace.